Introduction. Silence is your quiet power. You don't need to broadcast every move you make. In fact, the more you talk, the less you do. That's the brutal truth most people dodge. They believe that by telling enough people about their goals, their groundbreaking business ideas, or their ambitious personal transformation, it somehow becomes more real, more attainable. But that's not how it works. Talking only drains the precious energy you need before you've even achieved a single result. Every time you open your mouth to share what you're going to do, your brain gets a small hit of satisfaction, as if you've already accomplished it. That's why chronic talkers often feel a sense of achievement before they've even taken the first step. And that's dangerous, because the applause they chase, the validation from others, replaces the real effort they should be pouring in with everything they've got. Today, I'm going to walk you through one of the most powerful habits: staying silent and letting your actions speak louder than words. I'll show you why silence is your greatest ally on the path to success, how oversharing can slow you down or even stop you in your tracks, and how those who build real, lasting success, unshakable empires, rarely feel the need to explain themselves to anyone. This isn't about hiding or being fake. It's about pure focus, staying grounded, working quietly, and showing up with strength when the time is right. Stick with me for the next few minutes as I break down the discipline of silence, the key to building your own empire. We'll dive deep layer by layer, so you don't just hear this, but feel it and apply it to your life. Let's get started with number 1. 1. Stop talking. Start doing. Your energy is leaking. This might hurt a bit, but face it, most people talk too much and do too little. They excitedly share their big goals, their next steps, their grand 5-year plans. But check back in a year, maybe 2, and nothing's changed. Why? Because talking becomes a cheap substitute for doing. When you talk about your goals, your mind rewards you with a false sense of progress, as if you've already moved forward. But in reality, you haven't budged an inch. You just vented the pressure, dulled your hunger, and the real action, it never happens. You know who actually gets ahead? The ones who stay quiet, keep their heads down, and work. They're the ones up early while the world's still asleep, staying late when the night's gone quiet, letting their results do the talking. They don't call 5 friends to brag about what they're going to build. They're too busy building it. They don't announce their next move. They make it silently, relentlessly, without pause. Imagine this. Every time you talk about what you're going to do, you're leaking energy that should be fueling action. That energy is gold, the fuel for your engine. Don't waste it trying to impress people with what's coming. They'll believe you when they see results. And if they don't, that's not your problem. You're not here for their approval. You're here to build, to change your life. So, if you want real change, zip your lips and move your feet. Don't just say you'll write that book. Sit down and write a page, then another, until it's done. Don't just talk about starting a business. Make your first sale, no matter how small. Don't preach about discipline. Wake up early and prove it to yourself every morning. Progress doesn't come from empty promises. It comes from real action, from sweat spill when no one's watching. And here's the beauty of it. When you stop talking and start doing, the right people will notice. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. Your consistency will shout louder than any words. The world respects results, and results come to those who grind in silence. From this moment, cut the long speeches. Let others talk. You build. You show up. You arrive not with parade, not with banners, but with quiet, undeniable proof. While others were talking, you were doing. 2, no one's coming to cheer you on. Learn to stand alone. Here's a tough one to swallow. No one's going to give you a round of applause for working hard, especially not at the start when it matters most. When you decide to level up your life, whether it's launching a new project, breaking bad habits, or chasing a bold goal, don't expect a crowd to cheer you on. Most of the time, there'll be no one. Just you, your work, and your ire to keep going. When it feels like no one sees your effort, that's where most people go wrong. They think if they share their plans, someone will jump in to encourage them, clap for their ambition. They expect support the moment they declare their intentions. But the world doesn't work like that. Life doesn't owe you motivation. Most people are too busy with their own struggles to cheer for yours. And let's be real, some deep down, might even hope you fail, just so they feel better about staying in their safe, comfortable status quo. You've got to get comfortable building without applause, moving forward without permission. Stop expecting others to understand. It's your dream, your vision, your fire, not theirs. It's not their job to push you forward. It's yours to keep moving even when no one's watching, especially then. There's immense power in being unnoticed, in building in silence. That's where real growth happens. When no one's clapping, you find out what you're made of. Are you doing this because you love it, because you believe in it, or just chasing fleeting validation? Let me tell you something that'll save you years of frustration. Applause is temporary. Approval fades fast, but results, they last forever. Results only come when you show up consistently, without needing a pat on the back every step. You don't need a fan club. You need self-respect, quiet confidence, an inner fire that doesn't beg for attention. It burns because it refuses to go out. And when you build with that drive, you don't wait for others to believe in you. You believe in yourself and prove it through every small action. So, the next time you feel like no one's cheering, think, good. That's the challenge. The moment where the strong separate from the talkers. Don't seek applause. Seek your craft. Master the process. Build when it's boring. Grind when it's lonely. And one day, when you look up, you'll realize you built something unshakable, undeniable. The world might start clapping then, but by then, you won't need it, because you'll know who you are, and that's stronger than any crowd. 3. Use your pain. Don't broadcast it. Turn suffering into fuel. Pain is part of the journey. Struggle is baked into the process. But here's a truth no one wants to shout. Your pain isn't a public performance. You don't need to air your hardships to earn respect or sympathy. In fact, the more you talk about your struggles, the more you empower them instead of the solutions. People don't rise by explaining their pain. They rise by turning it into strength. When you hit rock bottom, whether it's financial ruin, emotional collapse, or a personal crisis, your first instinct might be to talk, to vent, to seek comfort. Sympathy feels good for a moment, but it doesn't build your future. It doesn't change your life. Talking about pain without acting becomes a toxic habit, trapping you in an endless cycle. You start defining yourself by your pain instead of overcoming it. And eventually, you become a victim of the story you keep telling. The strongest people in the world, the ones who walk through hell and built empires, don't talk about what's tearing them apart. They stay silent and get to work. They turn pain into blazing fuel, taking the sting of failure, betrayal, or loss, and using it to ignite a fire so fierce no one can ignore the results. They don't complain, don't whine, don't explain. They rise higher, stronger. You have to decide right now. Will you use your pain to push you forward or let it hold you back? Because that's what happens when you talk about it too much. You stop, you slow down, you wallow. And eventually, you're stuck in a narrative of always struggling, always hurting, always explaining what you've been through. But when you keep it to yourself, something powerful happens. You build quiet resilience, rely on action over others' approval. You don't need a microphone to tell your story. You need a mission, and that mission is driven by discipline, not drama. There's a time to share your story, but not in the middle of the storm. Share it after you've built something solid, when your scars have turned to strength, when you've earned the right to speak from victory, not victimhood. Until then, stay focused. Let your pain push you to the next level, not drag you back to the past. Get back to work. Let your silence speak louder. Let your effort outweigh your emotions. You don't owe the world an explanation for your suffering. You owe yourself results. And when you stop broadcasting pain, when you start using it instead of discussing it, you become unstoppable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger in the dark. That's the strength that lasts, the strength that wins. Embrace it and turn your pain into your legacy. For your mission isn't a meeting. Protect your vision. Too many people treat their personal goals like an open forum, always talking, always explaining, always inviting opinions. But here's the cold, sharp truth. Your mission isn't a group project. It doesn't need discussion, votes, or anyone's approval. It needs focused action and the shield of silence. When you share your mission too early, you dilute it, giving away your precious edge. your fire, your clarity, your raw drive. Suddenly, you've got 5 people offering advice, none of whom have walked your path. One says your idea is terrible, another says it'll never work, and before you know it, you're doubting your own vision. Not because it's wrong, but because you let too many unqualified voices creep in. Think about the greats, the ones who truly changed their lives or built from nothing. They didn't hold meetings to get validated. They got to work. They didn't need the spotlight. They needed time, sweat, and isolation, because that's where momentum is built, not in idle chatter, but in relentless commitment. Don't get it wrong. Silence isn't about secrecy. It's about protection. Keep your mission close until it's strong enough to stand on its own. It's about keeping the fire alive while you're still gathering the wood. Because if you expose it too soon, someone's careless words could snuff it out before it grows. You have to become the kind of person who trusts their instincts over the noise around them. That takes discipline, a strong core, and the ability to keep quiet when every part of you wants to tell the world what's coming. Don't do it. Build first, talk later. Your mission doesn't need a meeting. It needs movement consistency and your undivided attention, untouched by others' doubts, undiluted by over-explanation. You're not here to convince people. You're here to become something extraordinary. That doesn't happen in endless discussions, but in quiet discipline. So, the next time you feel the urge to announce your big next step, pause. Remind yourself, your future isn't a group assignment. It's your responsibility. The more you protect it, the more power you'll have when you reveal it. Not with words, but with brilliant results. 5. Silent plans move fast. Speed through focus. When no one knows what you're building, they can't slow it down. That's one of the most overlooked truths of success. Silence isn't just protection. It's speed. You don't need to explain, wait for opinions, or push through others' doubts. You just move quietly, swiftly, with purpose. When you keep your plans to yourself, you cut through the noise. No arguments, no discouragement, no second-guessing from others' fears. You maintain pure focus, and when you're focused, you execute faster, not because you're rushing, but because you're not wasting time on pointless distractions. Think about how much time people lose justifying their actions, explaining goals to friends, family, co-workers, only to hear, "That's not realistic," or, "Are you sure you can do it?" That doubt seeps in, even if you don't believe it at first. It slows you, makes you hesitate, stalls your progress. And hesitation can kill a dream that needs momentum more than approval. But when you operate in silence, the only voice you hear is your own. And that's exactly what you need. You're not distracted by trying to look impressive. You're focused on being effective. You don't check for validation. You check off goals, hit targets, make real progress. Treat your plans like a treasure map. Keep them close. Don't flash them around. The more people know, the more they invite interference. Not all malicious, but even well-meaning advice can throw you off course. A suggestion here, a skeptical comment there, and suddenly your clear vision gets foggy. That's why silent plans win. They move under the radar, grow in peace, and when the time comes, they arrive undeniably strong. This doesn't mean you can't have mentors or guidance. Choose wisely. Seek those who walk the path, not those still at the starting line. Even then, share only what's necessary, not everything. There's power in privacy, speed in silence. Remember, the more people involved, the more friction you invite. The more friction, the more you're held back. But if you want to move fast, go far, cut the noise, keep your circle tight, and act with precision. Rapid progress doesn't come from big announcements, but from quiet execution. Show up, work, and when you're ready, let your results walk in first. They'll speak louder than anything you could have said along the way. That's how silent plans win. How you build something real that lasts without pausing to explain. 6. Confidence doesn't need a microphone. Prove it through action. Real confidence doesn't need a loud announcement. It just exists quietly without fanfare, without begging for attention. It moves with purpose, walks into a room without needing to dominate. And when it speaks, it doesn't talk about what it will do. It quietly proves what it's already done. You've seen the loud ones. They shout, always talking about what they're about to achieve, who they'll become, what they almost did. But when you look at their results, there's not much to show. That's not confidence. That's noise trying to fill the gap where real results should be. The louder they are, the more insecurity often hides behind it. A fragile front. True confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself, from working when no one sees, from showing up when no one claps, from pushing through when no one's watching. It comes from discipline, from quiet effort, not from drama or attention. You don't build self-worth by talking. You build it by earning your own trust day after day through small, consistent actions. You don't need to explain your value to the world. Let how you carry yourself do that. Your habits, your attitude, your consistency, those speak louder than words. The best don't need to prove they belong. They walk in, sit down, and get to work. They let their results talk. Here's where most people mess up. They think silence equals weakness, that if they don't constantly promote themselves, they'll be overlooked. But that's not how real impact works. People respect those who don't need constant validation. They're drawn to those who are steady, reliable, quietly excellent. Those who show up consistently without making a show. There's something powerful about someone who doesn't chase attention, but commands respect just by doing. That's confidence that doesn't need to be seen to be felt, doesn't need explanation to be understood. It's in how you move, how you focus, how you treat others, and handle your work without justification. So, the next time you feel the urge to prove yourself with words, stop. Ask yourself, is this confidence or insecurity talking? Let your work speak. Let your progress show. Let your presence be enough. You don't need to post every step. You don't need to impress with promises. Just build, just deliver, just become. The loudest in the room are rarely the strongest. The strongest are busy honing their craft quietly, consistently, without distraction. That's a confidence that lasts. The confidence that doesn't need a microphone. It just gets the job done and lets the results do all the talking. 7. Let results speak louder than words. Undeniable proof. If you want to make a real impact, stop telling people what you'll do and start showing them what you've done. Nothing commands respect like actual results. Not promises, not theories, not hype, just cold, hard, undeniable proof. That's what people believe, what they remember. Talk is cheap and the world's drowning in it. Everywhere you look, someone's talking about what they're about to achieve. Getting fit, starting a business, writing a book. But here's the real question. Where's the proof? Where's the finished product? Where's the consistency behind the claims? People spend too much time talking about plans and not enough executing them. And that's where momentum dies. Because when you talk too soon, your brain gets a hit of false satisfaction, a sense of progress without real work. It tricks you into feeling accomplished, and that feeling steals the fire you need to push forward. But results never lie. They don't need context, don't need explanation. They speak for themselves. You don't need to convince anyone when you build something real. You just show up, and your work walks in first. It earns respect, earns trust, earns a right to be noticed. The key is staying silent while you build, focusing on the heavy lifting, letting habits lay the foundation. And when the time comes, your success will say more than you ever could. You have to love the effort, not the glory. Every early morning you wake up, every tough choice you make, every quiet moment where you choose discipline over distraction, that's what leads to real progress. That's what puts you in a position where you don't need to shout, because you've already done big. And when you live in results, everything changes. People don't question you. They don't doubt you. They watch you, study you. In a noisy world, the person who moves with quiet proof stands out most. So, remember, the next time you feel like explaining your dreams, stop yourself. Let your next step be action, not words. Let discipline carry more weight than descriptions. Say less, do more. And when the time's right, let your results speak for you louder, clearer than anything you could have said. 8. Stop explaining. Start earning. Momentum is gold. At some point, you have to stop explaining yourself to everyone around you. Stop justifying your vision, your effort, your time. Because here's the truth. Most people aren't listening to understand. They're listening to judge, to doubt, or to compare your journey to their comfort zone. And if you spend all your energy trying to make them understand, you'll burn out before you even start. You don't owe anyone an explanation for chasing growth. You don't need to break down your schedule, choices, or sacrifices just to make others comfortable. If they don't see the value in what you're doing, that's not your problem. Your job isn't to convince them. It's to prove yourself right through results. Every time you pause to explain, you're stepping out of your rhythm, slowing your momentum to soothe someone's opinion. But momentum is gold. You can't afford to break your stride every time someone raises an eyebrow. You can't stop to answer the same repetitive questions. Why are you doing this? Why not take it easy? Are you sure it's worth it? Those questions aren't fuel. They're friction, dragging you back. Leaders don't explain. They earn. They keep their heads down and let the scoreboard talk. They keep moving while others are still debating. And when the time comes, their results silence every critic. That's the power of proof. No opinions, no chatter, just proof. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be rude or arrogant. You can still be kind, still be respectful, but you don't need to shrink your ambition just to make others understand. You don't need to give a play-by-play of your journey. You're not running a press conference. You're running a race, and races are won by running, not explaining. Successful people don't talk about their goals every day. They chase them. They don't preach about hard work. They live it. And when people finally see the results, they get it, they understand, but by then, you're already on the next level because you didn't waste time begging for belief. You built something that demands it. So, the next time someone asks you to explain why you're working so hard, why you're quiet, why you're changing your habits, just smile and let them wonder. You don't need to prove anything to anyone but yourself. And once you start earning, truly earning, silence becomes your superpower. Cut the chatter. Forget the explanations. Let your growth answer every question. Let your progress outweigh every excuse. From now on, stop explaining and start earning. That's how winners move. Quietly, boldly, unapologetically. 9. Keep your blueprint to yourself. Guard your secret sauce. When you have something valuable, something powerful, something life-changing, you protect it with everything you've got. You don't lay it out for everyone to see, and that includes your blueprint, your strategy, your habits, your systems. Because the truth is, not everyone deserves access to your inner workings. Some will copy, some will criticize, and some will try to sabotage just because they can. You don't see master builders sharing their plans while the foundation's still being poured, do you? They work quietly, measure twice, cut once, and when the structure rises, everyone sees the final result, but no one knows the exact steps. That's how it should be. Keep the mystery, keep the edge. In a world that pressures you to post every move, every update, every detail of your journey, it takes real strength to stay silent. But silence is your shield. It protects your process, keeps distractions out and focus in. When people don't know how you're doing it, they can't interfere, can't derail you. And honestly, most aren't rooting for you to win. Some are just watching to find a way to beat you without doing the work. They want the shortcut, your formula, but not your struggle. That's why your blueprint is sacred. You build it through trial and error, through discipline and pain. It's yours, your advantage. Don't give it away. There's power in letting people see the results without the process. Let them wonder. Let them guess. While they're trying to figure you out, you're already on the next level, refining, adapting, growing in silence. That's how momentum builds, how you stay 10 steps ahead. You don't need to prove your smarts by explaining your methods. You don't need to impress with your strategy. You need to execute, to keep showing up, to work, and let your results walk in with you. That's how people notice, how you become undeniable, not by sharing everything, but by building something so solid it speaks for itself. So, from now on, tighten your circle, guard your plans, keep your blueprint close to your chest. You're not secretive, you're strategic, and there's a big difference. You're not hiding, you're protecting what's most valuable, the system that takes you from where you are to where you're going. Don't ruin the magic by revealing the recipe. Let them taste the final product and wonder how you made it so good. Let your results shine while your process stays in the shadows. That's how real builders move. Quietly focused, unstoppable. 10. Don't put big dreams in small minds. Guard your vision. If you have a vision bigger than your current reality, a dream that could change everything, protect it with your life. Because not everyone is ready to handle a dream that big. Some lack the mindset, the courage, or the imagination to see what you see. And if you share your dream with them too soon, they'll crush it without meaning to, not out of malice, but out of their own limitations. Small minds can't hold big dreams, so they try to shrink yours. Here's what happens when you tell the wrong people your plans. They project their fears onto you, tell you play it safe, not to aim too high, that it's not realistic. But what they really mean is they couldn't do it, so you shouldn't try. That's not advice. It's self-doubt dressed up as concern. You have to learn to spot real support versus disguised sabotage. Some will laugh while casting doubt on your vision. Not because they want you to fail, but because your courage reminds them of their own hesitation. And in that moment, they'll chip away at your dream, bit by bit, until you stop believing in it. That's why your dream doesn't belong in casual conversation. It's not something you toss into small talk or drop in a group chat. Your dream is sacred. It needs nurturing protection, refinement, and silence. Share it only with those who've earned the right to hear it. The builders, the believers, the ones who challenge you to go further, not pull you back. And even then, be selective, because your dream is still growing, still taking root. If you expose it too soon, you risk pulling from the soil before it blooms. Keep it close. Let it grow stronger in private. Water it with your own belief and action. Small minds don't mean bad people. Sometimes it's your closest friends, family, co-workers, people with good intentions, but who can't see what you see. Don't blame them. Just don't hand your future to someone who's never been hungrier than you. They won't understand, and it's not your job to convince them. Instead, use their doubt as fuel. Let it push you to focus harder, work smarter, aim higher. Prove them wrong not by arguing, but by results. Let your success be the proof that your dream was never too big. It was just too bold for the wrong ears. So, the next time you feel like sharing your dream, pause. Ask yourself, can this person hold my vision carefully, or will they poke holes in it out of fear? If they're not the right person, stay silent. Build in quiet. And when the time comes, let them witness what you never needed them to believe. That's how you protect big dreams, by keeping them away from small minds. 11. Silence builds focus. Focus builds empires. Silence builds focus. And focus builds empires. There's a reason the most disciplined people in the world are often the quietest. It's not because they're shy. It's because they're locked in. They don't waste energy explaining, complaining, or try to impress anyone. They shut out the noise, build mental walls around their time, and within those walls is work, consistency, and crystal clear purpose. That kind of silence isn't empty. It's raw power. Every time you open your mouth to talk about what's coming, you're borrowing energy from the real work. Every distracting conversation, every explanation pulls you out of your rhythm. It's a leak in your focus. And if you want to build something that lasts, something that matters, you need every drop of that focus. Discipline and distraction can't live in the same room. You can't fully commit to your craft while checking your phone every 10 minutes or justify your goals to someone who doesn't value you. Focus demands mental isolation, not loneliness, but the ability to mute the outside world and amplify your inner drive. People underestimate what deep focus can do in a noisy world. Being the one who shuts out the chaos and gets to work is a superpower. While others broadcast every step, you stack quiet wins. While they chase applause, you build something that outlasts their noise. It starts with guarding your time, cutting pointless chatter, saying no more often, turning off notifications, distractions, and the urge to explain yourself. Your time isn't for sale. Your dream isn't up for debate. You have work to do, and that work deserves your full attention. And here's the best part. When you operate with that level of focus, everything changes. Your quality improves, your confidence surges, you become sharper, faster, more reliable. You start moving differently, thinking differently, living differently. That's how empires are built. Not with noise, not with hype, but with focus, consistent, repeated action in silence. If your life feels chaotic, keep your blueprint to yourself. It's not always guard your doing too much. Sometimes it's because you're saying too much, something powerful, too many opinions, something life-changing. Too much sharing. You protect it with everything you've got. Go silent. You don't lay it out for everyone to see. And dive deep into the few things that truly matter. Your strategy, your habits. Silence isn't weakness. Because the truth is discipline. It's clarity. Not everyone deserves it's the foundation of every great achievement. Some will don't waste your power. Some will criticize. Some will try to sabotage just because they can. Because silence builds focus. You don't see master builders sharing their plans day after day. Foundation still being empires. Do you? 12. They work quietly. Measure twice. The silent endure once. Legacy. And when the structure rises, the flash always fades fast. The loud guy knows the exact steps. Always talking about that's how it should be. What he's done. Keep the mystery. How great he is. Keep the edge. Gets attention in a world that pressures never for long. Every move. Because when it's time to deliver, every detail of your journey doesn't cut it. It takes real strength to stay silent. And discipline doesn't show off. But silence is your shield. Shows up quietly. It protects your process. Day after day. Keeps distractions what needs to be done long after the initial hype dies. When people don't know how you're doing it, the loud rely on interfere. They can't derail attention. And honestly, crowd reaction. Most aren't rooting for you. And that's a trap. Some are just watching to find a way to beat you. So does their drive without doing the work. But the silent builders, they want the shortcut. They don't build for claps, but not build because they said they would. That's why they don't need a crowd. Sacred. They need a mission. You build it through trial and error. Stay focused. Discipline and pain. And that's why they outlast everyone else. Your advantage. You can always spot the difference. There's power in letting people see the results without the process. They chase shortcuts. Want quick guess. While they're trying to figure you out more than be successful. You're already on the next silent builders take the stairs, adapting, no shortcuts, growing no silence, just straight. That's how momentum, relentless effort, how you stay while the loud fade one by one. You don't need to prove silent keeps by explaining your unshakable, unstoppable. You don't need to impress. If you want to build something that lasts, you need to execute. Don't fall into performance showing up to work. Don't get stuck trying to results walking with you. Won't be there when that's how people notice. Instead, how you become disappear into your craft, not by sharing better when no one's watching, but by building something so solid it speaks for itself. And when you're finally ready to show from now on, it won't be tighten your circle. It'll be undeniable proof that while others were talking close to your chest, you were building something real. You're not secretive. Because here's strategic. And there's the biggest winners are rarely the loudest at the start. They're the ones what's most valuable. The system heads down from where you are to where no one believes in them. Don't ruin it. Let their results by revealing the recipe. Let their life become the product and wonder how you made it so good. If you're not getting noticed, let your results shine while your process stays in shadows. That's actually great. Use that's the silence. How real builders move. Use the anonymity. Quietly let it shape you, unstop, strengthen you. 10. Because when you finally step into big dreams and small minds, you'll have something real to show. Guard your vision. Something the world can't ignore. Vision bigger than your not current because reality, it's loud, but because it's a dream that can change everything. The talkers fade. Protect it with your life. Builders endure. Because not everyone who's ready to handle a dream that the one who doesn't need the spotlight. Some lack the mindset. The one who builds a life imagination no introduction to see what you see. In the end, and if you share your dream with them too soon, show-offs will vanish. They'll crush it, but the silent builders not out of malice. They'll still be standing out of their own limitations. Not small minds can't hold big dreams, but because they build it, they try to shrink yours. Building long after. Here's what happens when you tell the wrong conclusion plans. Choose the silent fears onto you. Build an unshakable legacy. Not now you've heard the truth. Most people run not realistic. The less you say, but what they really mean is the more you keep it. So in a world obsessed with talking, that's not advice. Posting, sharing, it's self-doubt dressed up as concern. Real power lies in choosing. You have to learn to spot real support, not because your guys sabotage, but because you're too focused on building something that will say everything for you. Not because the winners don't chase attention, but because your courage reminds them of their own hesitation. They don't waste breath describing what's coming. And in that moment, they keep their heads down and do it. And when they finally arrive, until you stop believing in it, they don't need to announce themselves. That's why their results speak louder than words in casual conversation. You have to understand. It's not something you toss into power and restraint or drop energy in silence. Your dream is every time you resist the urge to talk nurturing, about your protection, your pain, or your refinement in silence. You're storing strength. Share it only with preserving those who earn the right to hear it. Protecting your mission. And while everyone else leaks the ones who challenge you to go further, you build not pull you back. No noise, no even then be selective. This discipline is your dream is still growing, necessary, still taking root. Because a loud burnout, expose it too soon. Oversharer stall, you risk pulling from the explainers spend more time convincing and creating. Let it grow stronger in private. You choose a path of silent belief and action. The one who doesn't small minds don't mean bad people. Who doesn't just talk. Sometimes it's your closest friends, family, coworkers. People you don't need to prove anything, but who can't see what you see. Friends. Don't not blame family, them. Not a stranger. Just don't hand your future. You don't owe anyone an someone who's never been hungrier than effort or they won't understand. And it's not your job to convince them. The consistency. Instead, use their doubt as fuel. And proof doesn't come from talking. Work smarter. It comes from showing up. From letting your life become the loudest thing about you, but by results. From letting your progress, let your success be the proof that your dream was never too big. Lock your lips. It was just too bold for the wrong ears. Move in silence. And when the next time you feel like sharing your results, speak. Pause. That's how legacies are built. How real can this person hold my vision carefully, or will they poke holes in it out of fear? If they're not the right person, now take action. Build because your journey begins in silence. And when the time comes, thanks for listening. Let them witness what you never need. Stay tuned for more. That's how you protect big dreams, by keeping them away from small minds. 11. Silence builds focus. Focus builds empires. Silence builds focus. And focus builds empires. There's a reason the most disciplined people in the world are often the quietest. It's not because they're shy. It's because they're locked in. They don't waste energy explaining, complaining, or try to impress anyone. They shut out the noise, build mental walls around their time, and within those walls is work, consistency, and crystal clear purpose. That kind of silence isn't empty, it's raw power. Every time you open your mouth to talk about what's coming, you're borrowing energy from the real work. Every distracting conversation, every explanation pulls you out of your rhythm. It's a leak in your focus. And if you want to build something that lasts, something that matters, you need every drop of that focus. Discipline and distraction can't live in the same room. You can't fully commit to your craft while checking your phone every 10 minutes or justify your goals to someone who doesn't value you. Focus demands mental isolation, not loneliness, but the ability to mute the outside world and amplify your inner drive. People underestimate what deep focus can do in a noisy world. Being the one who shuts out the chaos and gets to work is a superpower. While others broadcast every step, you stack quiet wins. While they chase applause, you build something that outlasts their noise. It starts with guarding your time, cutting pointless chatter, saying no more often, turning off notifications, distractions, and the urge to explain yourself. Your time isn't for sale. Your dream isn't up for debate. You have work to do, and that work deserves your full attention. And here's the best part. When you operate with that level of focus, everything changes. Your quality improves, your confidence surges, you become sharper, faster, more reliable. You start moving differently, thinking differently, living differently. That's how empires are built. Not with noise, not with hype, but with focus, consistent, repeated action in silence.